fourth graders, today we are going to read Cendrillon, which is a Caribbean Cinderella. So this is by the same author as the Soot-Faced Girl. I'm going to show you the first couple pages, and while I show you those, I want you to be thinking about the setting of the Soot-Faced Girl and Rough Face and how those are different or similar. So this kind of shows you the setting of Cendrillon. It takes place on an island in the Caribbean Sea that was taken over by the French. So today we're going to get a chance to hear some Creole words when I read the story. So this is Cendrillon. I live on a green, green island in the so blue Caribbean Sea. Long ago, when I was a child, my family was poor. When my mother died, she left me only one thing, a wand of mahogany. 3 taps will change one thing into another, my mother had whispered, but only for a short time, and the magic must be used to help someone you love. Of what use this was to an orphan like me, who every day struggled to find shelter and fill her belly, I could not use the wand. I had no one to love and no one who loved me. When I grew up, I worked as a blanchisseuse, a washerwoman, scrubbing other people's sheets and shirts at the riverside, drying them in the sun. One woman I worked for was kind. I often nursed her, for she was always sickly, poor creature. In thanks, she made me a nanny and godmother of her baby girl, Cendrillon. When I held that baby in my arms on her christening day, I felt such love, and I saw love return from those sweet brown eyes. Alas, Cendrillon's mamma died soon after this. Then her papa, Monsieur, married again. Madame Poitrine was a cold woman and puffed up proud because her grandfather had come from France. I wonder what's going to happen with that wand in our story. It's going to play a part or not. When a new daughter, Vitaline, was born, Madame gave a christening party for her rich friends. What a feast it was! Madame and the other fine ladies were dressed in satin and velvet, all the colors of the rainbow. They laughed at my worn white skirts and peasant ways of speaking. Pretty Cendrillon came and kissed me. Bonjour, Nanine. She gave me a cup of punch. Her hands were blistered and red. Pas vous, Cendrillon, poor little child, I cried. What have you done to yourself? She shrugged. My father's wife works me like a serving girl. And Monsieur allows this? Sighing, she said, he fears Madame, but I am strong. The work hurts my hands, but not my heart. Someday I will find a way to help. Even as I spoke them, my words sounded hollow. What could I, a poor washerwoman, do for my dearest? So we can see here is Madame holding the new baby at the christening party. When she was older, Cendrillon came to the river each morning to do the family's laundry. Her sweet bonjour was music. Her smile was sunshine, even when the clouds hid the sun. We knelt beside the other blanchisseuses and talked and sang and laughed as we scrubbed the clothes. Cendrillon seemed so happy. I wished that I could always see her so. Nothing was easy for her at home. Madame had spoiled Vitaline 8 dainties. Cendrillon often only had a handful of flour and tail ends of codfish. All day she worked. At night she slept on a hard straw pallet. Then, one day, she came, sad-faced, to the river. No singing or joking would make her smile. I asked, "What troubles you so, my child?" "There is a ball tonight, but I'm not to go," she said, looking so miserable. My heart nearly snapped in two. "Vitaline and Mamma will go, but Mamma says I am lazy." "Does it mean so much to you, this ball?" "Oh, yes, Nanning," she cried. "It is the birthday fête for Paul, Monsieur Tableau's son. He is so handsome and well-spoken. He is like a prince. Yet he is kind." "Do not cry, dear one," I said, hugging her. "Tonight you will go to the ball." "For true?" "Upon my soul, I promise this," I said, though I was fearful of risking so much when I had no plan. But her smile lightened my heart as she gathered up her laundry. I heard her singing. Long after she left, I sat watching the river. How am I to keep my promise? I asked myself. When I could think of no answer, I prayed to the good God, and he answered because I began to think what I must do. It was dark when I reached home. I took my mother's wand from the shelf and hurried to my sweet Cendrillon. What a hubble-bubble at the house. Cendrillon's papa stood on the porch holding his gold watch while the coachman waited beside the family carriage. "We are late," Monsieur said, as if the fault belonged to me. Inside, Madame and Vitaline were shouting, "Cendrillon, find my shoulder scarf! Cendrillon, comb my hair!" I helped arrange Madame's gown while Cendrillon combed Vitaline's hair. Finally, they were off, away. Good riddance. Upon the instant, I told Cendrillon, "Now you will go to the ball." "But I have no carriage," she protested. "I have no gown." "Go to the garden and pick a fruit de pon," I said. The child looked at me as she thought, "My poor Nanny has gone mad." But she found a big, round breadfruit. I tapped it 3 times, toot, 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 with my wand, and it became a gilded coach. So far, so good. Here she is picking the breadfruit. And then it turns into a coach. Cendrillon gasped, but I told her, "Do not waste your breath on questions. We still have much to do." 2, 2, 2. 6 agoutis, and the cage became 6 splendid carriage horses. 2, 2, 2. 5 brown field lizards became 5 tall footmen. 2, 2, 2. A plump manjou was carried and changed into a coachman. Then I tapped Cendrillon. Her poor calico dress was changed to a trailing gown of sky blue velvet. Upon her head sat a turban just as blue, pinned with a pin of gold. She had a silk shoulder scarf of pale rose, rings in her ears, bracelets, and a necklace of 4 strands of gold beads, bigger than peas. Upon her feet were elegant pink slippers, embroidered with roses. It was enough to hurt my eyes to look at my darling. Finally, I turned my washerwoman shift into a fine red dress. I would chaperone Cendrillon, as suited for a proper young lady. Away we went, over the bridge, through the town, along the shore to the Grand Maison of Monsieur. Just before we stepped down from our carriage, I warned Cendrillon. The magic lasts only a short time. We must leave before the midnight bell is rung. Yes, Nanny Ann, she promised. What a grand entrance Cendrillon made. All eyes turned towards her, and she could not turn away. I heard whispers all around. Who is that pretty girl? Look at her fine clothes. Did she come from France? Even Cendrillon's stepmother and sister did not recognize the two of us, though they peered crossly at us. Crossly means kind of like angrily or mad. They were kind of jealous of her. Then Paul, his eyes blazing with love fire, asked her to dance. And he refused to dance with any other. I know. I watched as I ate. Oh, what fine food I helped myself to as I watched the handsome couple. Even chocolate sherbet. Cinderella was so happy, and I was happy to see her so, that we forgot to mark the time. Suddenly, I heard a distant bell strike the first chime of midnight. Astonishing all with my rudeness, I grabbed Cendrillon's hand and cried, "It's nearly midnight, we must go." For a moment, I feared she would not obey. Then she turned, and we ran towards the door. Paul cried, "Wait, I don't even know your name." He ran after us, but guests and servants, confused by such running and shouting, blocked his way. As it was, we barely escaped to our carriage because Cendrillon stumbled on the stair. She had to leave behind one embroidered slipper. Almost forgot to show the page. Off we sped into the night as I counted the chimes, and the moment I heard the 12th stroke, we found ourselves in the dusty road, besides a smashed breadfruit. Among us, the agatus, the lizards, and the fat Manchu scurried into the brush. We walked home like two ragged washerwomen. Our fine clothes were gone, all except Cendrillon's one pink slipper. She took it off, saying, "I will keep this to remind me of this wonderful night and a happiness I will never know again." "But," I said, "I will help you visit Paul again." She shook her head. "I see now that it is not Cendrillon he fell in love with," she said. "I was under the spell of your wand. When the magic goes, the love, too, will fade from his eyes." "Alas," I said, "my plans have come to nothing. I cannot give you the gift of love that would change your life for true." "Dear godmother," she said, kissing my cheek, "you gave me this night. That is enough." I did not see Cendrillon at the river the next day. When I called at the house, I found she was in bed. Madame and Betteline said she was being lazy, but I saw she was sick with a broken heart. I stroked her brow for a good long time until I heard a great commotion. I wonder what that commotion's going to be. There you can see. That's what the commotion is. Does Paul come back to find his one true love? When I looked for the cause, I found that Paul had arrived. He was followed by a footman carrying Cendrillon's lost pink slipper on a satin pillow. To Madame and Betteline, he explained, "I am searching for the lovely stranger who was at the fête last night. This is her slipper. I am asking all unmarried young women on the island to try it on. I will wed the one whose foot it fits." From the doorway, I heard Madame saying, "My pretty daughter is the only unmarried girl in this house." Then Madeline and her mama tried to force the girl's big foot, with toes like sausage, into the slipper. Such grunting and groaning you've never heard. So eager they were, I feared they would destroy the slipper. "If we cut off my big toe," I called out, "it would fit just fine." Madame screeched, "Go away, old woman." And I did. Straight back to Cendrillon's room I marched. Look at them struggling to get that shoe on. Look at the mom's face. Oh. Such expression on the characters in this book. "Now, child, if you love me," I charged her, "do this one thing for me. Go out into the hall." She drew a shawl around her cotton shift. Barefoot, she went into the hall, where panting Madame and sobbing Madeline had given up the battle of the slipper. But just as Paul was turning to go, I tapped Cinderella, "Two, two, two," with my wand. To the astonishment of all, she appeared as she had at the ball. "No, godmother dear," she said, "no more spells." With a sigh, I touched her again, and she was as before, in her shift and shawl. Without hesitation, Paul knelt before her. Gently, he placed the slipper on her foot. Then he said, "You are as beautiful this minute as you were last night." And everyone in the room could see true love in his eyes. Why do you think that Cendrillon didn't want Nanny to use the wand again? Cendrillon and Paul were married soon after this. Even the King and Queen of France never had seen such a wedding. The guests ate and danced and sang and ate again for 3 days. I know because I was there. I danced and ate 9 helpings of chocolate sherbet and came away only to tell this tale. I'll ask this question at the end in writing, but I want you to start thinking about the version of this Cinderella was told by the fairy godmother. Do you like it being told by the fairy godmother? Do you like her as the narrator or not? Why do you like it or why do you not like it? And then I'm going to read the author's note, which talks about the author's purpose of writing the story this way. The story is loosely based on the French Creole tale Cendrillon from the 19th century. That version follows the basic outline of Cinderella while incorporating elements of the West Indian culture and costume. I've expanded the tale considerably, drawing on details of life on the island. The decision to tell the story from the godmother's point of view arose over the course of rewriting. She seemed a natural storyteller from the narrative that grows out of the Creole oral tradition, and her unique perspective allowed me to add a fresh wrinkle to this timeless tale. So that is the note of the author. I will add those questions to the end for you to think about. Thanks for reading Cendrillon with me. I enjoyed it a lot. I noticed again, as I did with Rumpelstiltskin, that there was a lot of 3s in this fairy tale. She said 2, 2, 2, 3 different times, and she changed 3 different things. So the use of 3 in this fairy tale as well. Have a good day.